FM is proud to celebrate 30 years of home team. We continue the road show with EROK 173, janitor and CEO of Waldo Street Pottery, and Mr. Sam Holt, the namesake of the Sam Holt Band, founding member of Out Formation, longtime guitar tech for Widespread Panic, Toy Caldwell historian, home team captain, also known as Poodle Hudson, and Coach Holt.
God. Oh,
What's
Eli.
up, Sam?
Oh, not much, man. I just hanging out on a Sunday morning, talking with some friends, and yeah,
Tell me
that's what.
about, so this is all about home team, what home team means to everybody.
hmm
Tell me about how you were introduced to home team. How did that come about?
I don't have like a specific date or time that I remember. I just remember starting to see like home team shirts and stickers, and Eli and I became friends. Oh shoot, I don't know what, like 95, 96, 97. We started seeing each other taping Panic shows. And then I knew Gene before that. Gene was a taping as well, Gene Sego. And I'd known JT Lucchese, who's I would also consider part of this whole scenario. I met him in like 91 taping. Is either Fish at the Georgia Theater. I don't know exactly the show, but by 91, we would see each other like in the crowd taping. Um, and and then eventually, like when I started working for Panic, Eli or Gene or JT would give me a bunch of shirts, home team shirts to give the crew. I remember one time Eli met me like off Windy Hill, 75 and Windy Hill in Atlanta, and gave me like a big box of shirts because that's where we were meeting the Panic crew bus to start the tour. And I remember leaving him in the parking lot, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And Eli was like, and Eli, like, at the next time he saw me, he brought me a whole nother box. So somewhere in like 2001, there was 72 home team shirts in like a Comfort Inn parking lot off Windy Hill.
I do not remember that at all, and that's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay.
yeah,
That's okay. You know that just says that home team started before home team was home team. You and
yeah,
me back in '91, and as I recollect, you and I had some phone conversations, some pretty epic phone conversations about taping and tapes and specific tapes. Probably '93, '94.
really?
Yeah,
Okay,
and then like fall '95 is when the home team moniker started.
okay,
And then October, Halloween at the Georgia Theater show. I mean, at the Classic Center shows,
yeah,
where you showed up as a coach. Your Halloween costume was a coach, and the bike
yeah,
sports and everything. Coach, home team, it all worked.
yeah,
Before we knew it, it was all working.
yeah. I get, I understand. Yeah, I concur.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Tell me about that transition to home team into the crew. That there's nothing more home team than the crew. I mean, that's all agreed. Like, the people behind the scenes doing the work.
I believe JT and Eli and Gene had already started giving like paraphernalia, shirts, stickers to Panic people before I got there. I started working in 2000, um, and it was around. I can't specifically put a time other than when I started. I mean, it was definitely a thing. Like there was home team shirts, people wearing home team stuff, stickers and stuff, and it was never really defined. But I think that's part of the beauty of it. It's like
Yeah.
let the people like if someone tried to define it, I think it could be limiting. So I think letting the end users, whoever that is, define it, is what it's all about. For me, it's about trying to stay positive and the manifesto. If anyone's listening to this, there is a home team manifesto written by. Did JT and you write that? Or all three of you guys, Gene, you and JT, Eli?
It was. I drafted the first draft, gave it to Gene, who edited it, and then
Yeah.
JT, and then it became something.
Yeah. So I think there's truth in there, and it's about taking the ball moving forward. For me, staying positive, trying to be the best I can be. One thing that someone told me that I try to remember is if you have to be the first one to do the right thing. And that's hard sometimes, especially if someone's
Yeah.
like, not treating you right. But if you were the first one to do the right thing, it usually is comes back to you in a good way. Um, but there's home team barbecue in Charleston, who is Aaron Siegel, my friend. He's taken the ball. My wife's publicity company is called Home Team Publicity. There's all kinds of home teams. I believe Eli's nephew, Rhett, or Thomas Rhett Akins, who's a country music superstar, um, even had a tour named Home Team. Or did it go beyond that, Eli, with him?
His fan club, yeah, his fan club and his tour, and this is his hat actually,
Oh, awesome.
Okay,
his home team hat.
nice.
Yeah, we're everywhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
Tell me about out formation. I understand that's where when you stopped working for Panic and you went out on your own, and
hmm
I think you and Eli, that was Eli was managing that to some degree, in various tour
baby
managing, accounting,
babysitting, babysitting.
babysitting,
Yes.
janitor. Yeah. Tell me
hmm
about out formation and how that came about. Y'all tell some lies about those
Um,
days.
well, it started with myself, Grady Upchurch, who I from Chattanooga, who we'd known each other since like later in high school, and then my friend KJ Copeland introduced us to Lee Schwartz, who went to the University of Alabama with KJ, and he was a drummer and really good musician, played other instruments, but started out as a three piece, and we would go over to Lee's house in Atlanta. We all lived in Atlanta, and we just start playing. And Lee had some songs that he'd had for a while, and then we started writing songs. And there was really no grand plan, but in the beginning, we were just really excited to get together and play. Be like, "Oh man, can you make it today?" Yes. And then we go over there and play, and then we started just like recording the little practices and came up with some songs. And we're like, we should we should we should do something. We should start a band as a three piece, and not really going like any specific direction other than we just wanted to play. Um, and then we started playing, and then our first gig as Out Formation was fall of '02, and I had just sat in with Panic for the first time, and so that got us some attention, and people were coming to see us to a degree. And then once we started getting more serious, and we wanted to make some kind of recording, I was like, I knew Eli had gone to Full Sail, uh, and was an engineer. Full Sail's a like audio production, video production school in Florida. And he's a drummer. Eli's a drummer. So I was like, and drummers, man, that's the hardest thing, in my opinion. It's hard to make them sound good. It's hard to play. It's hard to set up. It's a bitch to carry him around. Anyway, I was like, Eli is a drummer and he's an engineer. And I love him. So I think this would be a perfect fit. And we did our first little recording at one of Eli's clients slash friends studio. And his name's Scotty Wilbanks. He was a big deal in like, Christian rock world, but he had a really cool little like basement studio, and we did our first EP, I guess, self-released there. And Eli really tightened it up and brought us together, and it's really cool. I don't even know if I have one of those left somewhere, a CD. It's not on streaming, but we should probably get that out there. It's got some cool stuff on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then if you want me to keep going, I will. Eli, you want to jump in with anything?
Yeah, Scotty Wilbanks is still out there doing it big time. He's the keyboard player on tour with Luke Bryan now. So
Oh,
he's really
right
out there
on.
the big times. He was with Third Day, big band
Yeah.
back then.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was a big deal, us going to his house and getting started that way. Eventually that morphed into we wanted to do something better and something bigger. And I was splitting my time between studios in Atlanta, between Zach recording the Stonehenge Room, and next door was Ricky Keller's Southern Living at its Finest studio. And if you don't know Ricky Keller and you know the name Lincoln Metcalf, then you know who Ricky Keller is. He was the bass player for Colonel Bruce for a long time, and he just ran a studio that was like a watering. It wasn't the biggest studio on the block because Outkast was next door. Zach was huge next door doing Bruce Springsteen and Brendan O'Brien, and but Ricky had a watering hole for musicians. So you'd often see Derek Trucks, Jimmy Herring, O'Toole Burbridge come through with whatever project they were sitting in on or recording themselves were there. So that was a great place to be and a very nurturing atmosphere. So we started bringing out formation in there to get better, bigger sounds, and the rest jumped off from there.
There's one song on our EP. Man, I wish I had one to show you guys, but it's got like I don't know, 5 songs on it. It's got the cover of it's like a green looking guitar pedal. Um, and it's like a knob for the bass, knob for the guitar, knob for the drums, and they're, turned up. And then like everything, if there's a plug, it just says out. It's all out. But anyway, we took that name out formation from just Bruce Hampton's play on words, like he'd say, I'm an outertainer. I don't stay at the days. Yeah, I don't stay at the days in. I stay at the days out. Uh, and so we were thinking of names, and finally, I think I came up with, well, how about out formation instead of information, out formation? And it's like, people still don't really grasp that to a degree, but whatever. But we loved it, and I think I got some feedback that Bruce liked that name. And Jeff Mosier, Reverend Jeff Mosier, banjo player who played with Bruce and a bunch of other people, he said that they had a joke that was like there was a book of out formation, but no one could ever find it. And then to follow up on that studio, Southern Living at its finest in Atlanta, yeah, as Eli said, the Outcast studio is right next door, and then there was another studio called Zach Recording, and that's where like tons of people came through, like Whitney Houston, Bobby Brown, Bruce Springsteen. Anyway, we recorded one song off that made it on that EP called Unwound, and that's where that song took shape. We had like some of it, and I remember it all happened in one night, at least the recording of it, and it's one of my favorite songs that we did. It was very much a collaborative effort.
Tell me about having to share a room with EROK 173.
Well, we were roommates on the road, so eventually out formation started getting to the point where we could sustain touring some or go out for weekends or a week or 2 weeks, and eventually became, we could go out for a month. And this was before Eli had helped us with the EP, and he would help us here and there, but we got to the point where we needed another person just to tour manage or whatever, and then mix and do merch and everything, really get us hotel deals, because his grandfather had a partial ownership in a Hampton Inn, Hampton Out. And
Hampton Out.
Eli would get us the hotel rooms through his friends and family discount. Eventually he came on the road with us full time and basically was everything. He was our babysitter. He didn't always drive. Our bass player, Grady, liked to do most of the driving. Anyway.
I just like to navigate poorly.
Yeah, sit in the front seat and tell everyone what they're doing wrong.
Exactly.
I'm good at that.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm talking a lot. Eli, what you got?
Well, the Hampton Out thing was we were, as partial owners of the Hampton Out, we were entitled to a discount on one hotel room at a time. Somehow I figured out how to hack the system, and we got 3 hotel rooms at the discounted rate. So it's like everybody got a bed for $100 a night. So that was a really big deal for us. And that carried over to a few other bands I worked with as well. But it was a really good thing for Out Formation. It really sustained us for a couple of years. And it was just a good time. It was just a good time. So how did we fall asleep every night? We were
Jerky Boys.
Somebody would set their phone on the bedside table and play Jerky Boys.
It's a really random.
We'd be asleep in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was like my happy place. Like it would relax me to the point where I didn't have any trouble falling asleep.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah,
yeah.
I know that's weird.
I don't want to say that's a strange one, but yeah,
it is.
That's unique for sure.
Yeah. That's the real lie right there.
Yeah,
that's a real lie. Yeah,
and we added a couple members. So we got Jeff Lane on percussion, and eventually we got C.R. Groover, an incredible keyboard player who lives in New Orleans now. And so we were that 5-piece for a few years and made a few records with Eli at the helm and JoJo producing. We had an album called Tennessee Before Daylight that we recorded in Dark Horse Studios in Franklin, and JoJo paid for everything. And it's like a super ridiculous nice studio.
Well, we recorded that one at Home Depot.
Oh, did we?
Tennessee was at Home Depot. Remember, you took a whole day off to be the golf caddy for Peter Cetera. Remember that?
Oh, no way. You have to tell me that story.
I don't even remember.
We missed the whole day of recording because Sam went out and was the golf caddy. Peter Cetera from Chicago.
Peter Cetera.
So I forgot about the Home Depot. So yeah, that was a studio in like what's that area called? Berry Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where Rhett lives now in Thomas Rhett too.
Okay. Well, yeah. So Eli was basically the engineer, did everything as far as the nuts and bolts, and JoJo paid for it. And we were still a three-piece at that point, so JoJo played all the keys on that album and produced it. And when I say produced it, he paid for it, and then he would be the final word, like, "Man, I don't like this. No, it should be like this." And then he would say, well, he would make the final call. So that was nice to have someone who was like, he made the call, and that can be really difficult as people are not agreeing on something. But to have that final say was important for us, and I'm proud of that album. I wish we had a little more seasoning at that point, but I really think our songs were really good.
Yeah, Tennessee Before Daylight that is a good album. So
Thanks.
Yeah. And then that turned into sort of you sort of began to wear Holt team. That came about that time.
Well, the first time I saw that, someone I don't know if it was Chris Campbell or Ray. Ray passed away a couple years ago. I have blanking on his last name, but one of those guys just started giving us Holt team shirts. So that's the first I ever experienced that. But Ray was a really
that's pretty
good
cool.
dude.
I mean, that had to be flattering.
Yeah.
Supportive movement for Outformation and Sam in general.
Yeah.
And its own home team. It is its own home team, and that's great.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's about.
I sell we have a few Holt team shirts that we sell and stuff. I really some of the tours that we did in like 2006, 7, 8. Those are some of my favorite times of my lives. Even as much riding in the van, cracking up under the gun to get somewhere in time to load in. Those are some of my most cherished memories, and I wouldn't trade that for all the money in the world.
I have to agree. We'd have to institute things like the anti-glaze law. You couldn't stop at a truck stop and just find somebody glazing over the Skittles aisle.
Yeah.
Like, so tired and out of it that they couldn't get back to the van. You had to stay chopped.
Yeah.
That next venue. You never knew what kind of snow you were going to get through over a pass in Colorado to get to the next ski town.
Yeah.
Those were some really good times. Some of the best times.
Yeah.
When I lived in Athens, and when I lived in Athens outside of school, I worked at Locos, and so Gary would always come in to Locos when he was off the road because his wife made the cheesecakes. She's a really good cheesecake maker. And so Gary was he was just the coolest guy ever. I mean, he embodied home team to me like as much as anybody did outside of, Eli and Gene and JT.
I would agree.
Right. And I've heard you talk about being in the bus, and Gary was a huge Marshall Tucker fan. And that's where you, I mean, I know who Toy Caldwell was before that, but that was you guys really bonded over that. Tell me about that. And Gary in general.
So I got really I'll never forget it. Summer of 1998, someone gave me this. My friend Ben Moore gave me this CD that was called Toy Caldwell Band, Can't You See? And it was a live album from a show, and I don't know, over 2 nights they recorded this live album at a club called Shooters in Spartanburg. And this was in 92, and he passed away in 93. But I was so blown away by that CD that I would come home I was going to Middle Tennessee State University at the time. I would come home every day after class, put that CD on, and start playing guitar with it. And that's when I decided to stop using a pick and start using my thumb,
Yeah.
uh, because I wanted to play like Toy Caldwell. And that's kind of my secret weapon in a way that a lot of people who know what I do or we do, know that there's a big Michael Hauser influence. Because I was a fan, and then his guitar tech and a friend, and etc. Uh, but that Toy Caldwell stuff, man, was just blowing my doors
Yeah.
off. And so I got really into that, and then I got started digging more into like old Marshall Tucker with the original band, and finding any live CDs or live shows I could that were available and trade. And this was back when you could just like trade, put it online, like, hey, your list gets mine, YLGM. And I started finding, any live Marshall Tucker I could that had Toy Caldwell on it. And there was this one CD that I had gotten. It was 31376 Long Island, New York. And
Yes. I know that one.
man, like we used to, like Gary loved that so much. We used to sit in the back lounge and just rock that so hard. Like we'd have, drive to the next city, leave at 1 a.m. or whatever. And yeah, Gary and I bonded over that. Gary was an incredible human being. He
Yes.
helped me out tremendously. When I got my gig with Panic, it was like it wasn't like I had to prep. It was like, okay, we'll have this upcoming tour. You come and look at all the gear and see how it's set up. It was like dropped in, boom, go. Uh, and Gary was really helpful. Although he didn't really know how to set up the guitar rigs. No one did really, except my friend Billy Field, who was Dave's bass tech. He knew a little bit
Billy,
about
yeah.
it, but not
Yeah.
a lot. And JB and Mike didn't know. So I basically trial by fire, and it was really
Yeah.
touch and go there for a while. But Gary helped me so much, and he was just such a good positive influence. And would, even if he didn't know like you know, which effects return am I going to use on this one? Where does it go? He would try to help me, even though he didn't. But man, he was such a good dude. I'm sure Eli's got some Gary memories.
Great Gary memories and Billy Field. Funny, in Orlando when I was at Full Sail, Billy Field he was I think he was in my class at Full Sail, which was a small
Okay.
class, but he also lived right behind me in the apartment complex where I was.
Okay.
So we were friends down there, and then totally jealous. He went straight to Athens and started
Yeah.
with Panic. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Good guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gary was he was the embodiment of home team. The guy was completely positive, completely friendly,
Yeah.
always there nurturing anybody he was around. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good
He
for
was the guy. He was the guy that somebody would call and be like, Gary, I don't have tickets, but he would try to walk them in or something like that. It was still had that vibe then.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah.
Totally great. Time
Oh,
right.
here's something I want to tell you. So Panic fans that listen to tapes pre 95 and back will know that Gary usually introduced the band pretty much after they got their Capricorn deal. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Capricorn recording artists all the way from Athens, GA, Watch for Panic. And so they stopped sometime in 95 doing that. And I was asked Gary, I said, Gary, why did you stop introducing them? And Gary said, JB told Gary, JB said, well, I think they know who we are now. So he didn't need to introduce them anymore.
I love the era prior to that, though, if you listen to audience recordings, anytime between songs, it sounds like cowboys and Indians fighting. I always that. That was a great era for Wise for Panic.
You mean just like the sound of the audience just going crazy? It was so like electric in there. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to hear I've heard some of Eli's favorite home team memories, but what's one of yours, Sam? And I'd like to get another live from you, Eli, after that.
Well, I was going to say, so Outformation, this is something that has to do with Gary too. I guess you could consider this a home team memory. We were playing after Panic at the House of Blues Halloween night or 2008, and Panic crew came in. We didn't even start till like 2 a.m. and we played till the sun came up, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
But so Gary was there, like, having fun backstage with us, him and Steve Lopez and a bunch of other Panic crew guys. And unbeknownst to us, Gary had walked out on stage and turned like every volume level up on the bass player's rig and didn't tell anyone. So when he walked on stage and we started, the bass was like so friggin' loud. Like it was like I remember our keyboard player CR was like so angry for like 10 seconds because why are you playing that loud? And then we found out Gary had literally gone across the amp and like just turned up everything.
I thought I remembered that the whole crew went out there and detuned everybody's instruments.
Now that I don't remember, but that could be true as well. I don't remember my guitar being detuned, but it's possible.
You remember that was a late night show for us, and there was some like metal show before us with like
Yeah.
bands, and I think we sat in the van with the trailer for about 2 hours waiting on those buses to move so we could then to load in.
Yeah.
That turned into like at first we were angry, and by the end of it we were all laughing hysterically because we were tired and we still had a long night ahead of us.
Yeah.
That was a really good time.
I got a picture of me, Lopez, and Gary from that night. If I find it, I'll forward it to you, Russ.
I was in Charleston in 2000. And you said you started in 2000. Did you start in like the fall tour of 2000?
Summer.
Summer. Okay, so when you guys came in 2000 and rented out the North Charleston Coliseum for, to prep for the tour.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, production.
I was helping Draper and Shaw as a runner that day, right?
Yeah.
And like I think I'd have thought that was one of your first shows, and I thought it was one of Steve's first shows
that
as
was
well.
that was Steve's first tour, probably first days. I had come on in July, like the second weekend of the tour in summer. But yeah, that was definitely Steve's first tour.
Yeah. Cool. That was a great memory for me. That was fun. That was a prime time for Panic. Like you said, you got dropped into the middle of that, learning all that by fire. At a peak moment.
Man, Fall 2000 is my favorite tour by anyone ever, including my own. It was every night. Every night was electric and magic.
Yes.
And there was a lot of there was new production, new PA, new front of house engineer named Andy Meyer, who was incredible. And a new lighting guy named Dino DeRose, who was incredible, and a lot of new people. And I felt like the production really took a big step forward starting that tour. And I feel like the guitars sounded incredible that tour, especially JB's. If anyone wants to go check it out, I really feel like his tone that tour, we worked on it pretty hard. And I feel like, man, by the second or third show, listen to Charlotte, which is one of the first shows, like the bar stools. I would encourage anyone that likes JB's guitar playing to listen to that.
I have to say that, Sam, you were a great inspiration to me in a very home team way, in that I'd been to Full Sail, yes, and living a life of self-doubt has not been easy, but to see somebody like you go from MTSU into a position like that, it was very encouraging to me to keep pushing forward, keep staying positive, and try new things, and just keep moving.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, to see you up on that stage, I remember, you'd lean down and talk to me off the edge of the stage, and it was always a very encouraging moment for me.
So, it was inspirational.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. 2000, summer of 2000.
Yeah.
I had just graduated out of cancer treatment. I just had a bone marrow transplant.
Yeah.
And lived days with zero immune system. And to reward myself, I took myself out on tour by myself. I went for 30 days. I saw 28 shows in 30 days all over the place. Mostly Panic, with a couple of Dylan and Phil and a couple of Pearl Jam shows thrown in there. But that was a great inspiration time for me, and I just enjoyed seeing you up there working, and that helped me move forward. It was a great thing.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a very true thing about life, is just to keep going, because you never know what path will cross, what will happen. And your story, Sam, is that. That's great.
It's I just feel lucky, grateful, and then sometimes seeing that everything that happened in 06 between guitar players, and I honestly think it was destiny. Yeah,
I was very big at that time into the DJ scene in Atlanta. I told the story previously about the EROK radio, where I was broadcasting the DJ sets, and I got really familiar and friendly with some faces that were going back and forth to Jamaica to buy records to spin at those kind of events. And I sent in an order for 7-inch Arlene's that a friend dug deep in some crates in Jamaica. Came back with a fistful of Arlene 7-inches that I had with me on that tour, summer 2000. And I had a little portable record player. So not only could I broadcast live in the parking lot, but I also had a portable record player. I could play those records out of the back of my car.
That's right.
I
forgot about that.
7-inches. I'm pretty sure I sent one backstage with you to Dave.
Okay.
But that was a good time. I probably have one of the two of those sitting around somewhere in a box I can find. That was a good time.
Yeah.
So what we got going? What do we have coming up? Eli, Waldo Street Pottery is going to be at a bonsai show in Louisiana. Tell me about that.
Yep, this coming weekend is called Say Bonsai, CEST Bonsai in Folsom, Louisiana, at a big bonsai nursery called Underhills. There's some major. If most listeners might not be into bonsai, but there's some heavy hitters going to be there demoing and workshopping. Guy Guidry, who's an absolute legend from New Orleans, who does bald cypress. Mike Lane from Florida, who does tropical trees and all kinds of other stuff. And the guy who runs Underhills, Evan Perdue, will all be there professionally demoing and workshopping. And there'll be a nice formal display of bonsai, as well as a large amount of vendors like me selling handmade wares and tools for creating bonsai.
And you're talking like pottery, like where you make the whatever the things that hold the bonsai trees.
Yeah, the containers.
And you got the galleon coins that you're still cranking out every so often. People can get those at Waldo Street Pottery website.
Well, typically putting those out on Facebook.
Facebook. Keep an eye out.
Yeah, so people know that those are out there. But there will be galleon coins that are not Home Team 30s at this show that commemorate the event, or just the ones I design on and have fun with.
Cool, that's a great idea.
They're out there.
And Sam, you got some shows coming up. I know this weekend you have the Sam Holt Band in Charleston and Asheville. Is that correct?
Yep. This will probably come out after those shows, but yeah.
But then you got July. You're going to be participating in JoJo and Friends out in Colorado.
Yeah. I believe it's the 10th, July 10th in Winter Park. I've never played there, but it looks really cool. It looks like kind of a little amphitheater. Really cool. I can't remember what is it. There's a name for the series. Let me see if I can find that. Anyway, High Note Thursdays in Winter Park.
High Note Thursdays in Winter Park.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see
there. You
that.
go.
It sounds like fun.
Anyway,
that's a good lineup you're a part of. You're the special guest, man. That's an asterisk. That's awesome.
Yeah, JoJo and Friends with Eric Martinez, Andy Clapp, Mike Davidoff on bass, and special guest Sam Holt. And then we're doing that also the next two nights, the 11th and 12th. I don't think it's been announced yet, but Ophelia's Electric Soapbox in Denver, which is a really cool room.
Great. Yeah. Home team, Colorado home team. Check that out. Get out there, support.
We haven't confirmed it yet, but we will do our weekend right around August 10th to celebrate the life, memory, and music of Michael Hauser. We do that usually a few days right around August 10th, which is the day he passed away. So probably be like I think we're going to do in Charlotte at the Visual 8, and probably a couple dates around that in the South.
Good time.
Yeah. And everybody can check that out. You can get that at samholtband.com. That's
correct.
Yes.
My Instagram is where I'm the most active, and it's at Sam Holt Band. I post all kinds of stuff, not just promoting my own thing. I put a lot of Panic memories and home team memories.
You're very, very supportive of the family.
Yes,
absolutely. Sam, do you remember the time that before I even knew what a podcast was, we tried to do a podcast in Oregon?
Yes, it was at a laundromat while we were washing our clothes. Can you find that?
If I can access these old hard drives somehow.
Yeah. All right.
We didn't know what it was, Russ. We had off and we needed to do laundry. So I took my taping gear into this laundromat and set it up, and those people looked at me like I was an alien. But, but the gist of it was I just wanted Sam to talk about 10 of his favorite songs. And so he'd talk about a song and we'd play it, and that would be the podcast.
Oh, please send me that.
Yeah,
In the background, I had a handful of quarters that I would like drop on top of washing machines just to make the camaraderie and the sound of a laundry. It was a good day off.
I hope we can dig that out. There's also, so there was a show at the Georgia Theater, May 3rd, 2002. It was billed as like Jerry Joseph, Bloodkin and Friends, and there were multi-tracks, like meaning tapes recorded to later mix down into for whatever reason, no one had a plan, but I got my hands on some of those, and Eli had transferred enough tracks to try to do a mix down of that's the first time I ever sat in with anyone of like that. I sat in with Jerry Joseph and Friends and played this song called 3 Mile Island. It was the Jack Mormons and myself, and he did a mix of that, and somewhere probably on that same hard drive is that. So I'd love to hear it.
Fastest horse or something like that.
Then, well, even it got even crazier because Mike and Todd sat in for like the last 45 minutes of the show, and they did like Fastest Horse in Town. It's the Jerry song that Mike played on the Jerry's album Conscious Contact. And man, Drive, I think, Jerry Joseph's song. It was like 45 minutes of pure, ridiculous, beautiful heat.
You did was the Rob Roy told story. Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah.
Never forgotten that.
That's 3 Mile Island, the name of that song. But it was such a heavy night in Athens. At that point, everyone knew Mike was sick. And the energy and the electricity in that room was off the charts that night. So, and I still have the tapes. So I hope we can still salvage them. I have the actual masters, and we need to rent. They were taped on these old kind of machines called Tascam DA88s, which were 8-track machines.
8s. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I have all the tapes from that night. So I hope to be getting a good spot where we can rent some gear, transfer the tapes, get them into the digital realm, and then work with them from there. Hopefully they're still salvageable.
All right, Eli, you have a task.
Yep. Well, I might know that technology still, but a lot of the audio technologies outrun me.
I'm talking about finding your hard drive.
Yeah.
I know where they are. I just I don't have a computer to hook them into.
See?
Well, you can send them to me then.
There you go.
I'll get them off.
Meet me
Unless there's something on there that you don't want me to see.
Well, yeah.
Well, thanks, Sam and Eli. This has been amazing. The lies always fun. The asterisks, the story of Outspirational. This is what this was. Outspirational. So, thank you very much.
Russ.
Oh, thank you, Russ.
Thanks, Pood.
Eli's starting we're doing a GoFundMe for Eli's facelift, so I'll get that out in the public pretty soon.
Please help. Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop till like Madonna.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for playing, all.